Joining us right now, we have Grant Stinchfield from Newsmax Media. Grant, glad you could take some time out of your day to talk to us.
Oh, I'm happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
So, Grant, I wanted to launch immediately into Biden's speech yesterday. I don't know if you sat through the glorious 3 hours of it or you took bullet points. What did you think overall?
Look, I thought he rambled and bumbled his way through it. I mean, there wasn't a lot of news other than he gave Vladimir Putin the go-ahead to invade Ukraine. Go figure. I knew he'd be weak on that. But he says a lot about nothing. I mean, many times it's painful to watch him. Words come out of his mouth, but he's not really saying much of anything. You can see his wheels turning, trying to figure out what to say. I did think the most important question asked there was by my buddy James Rose from Newsmax, who asked him, with all due respect, there's all this polling, people aren't confident in your mental capacity. Why is that? And he literally says, I don't know, and then moves on. I mean, he needed to address that question, and just his simple answer of I don't know tells you all you need to know about his mental capacity. He's just not there to think on his feet. And it is the question that everybody wants to know. Is Joe Biden mentally there? Is he calling the shots? Is he capable of it? I actually believe the man's a national security risk. And so I think he proved it yesterday.
Yeah, I think, but some of us, we can take the kind of befuddledness over minor issues. Like, I really don't care if he sends me a free mask in the mail. It's not going to make or break my week. We live in Texas. We're kind of a little bit over that mask thing for the most part. But the Ukraine thing, he pretty much gave a green light for a minor excursion, as he phrased it. This has opened up a whole can of worms, and there's been a little bit of backtracking with the White House since. But where do you see that situation going now?
He was all right. Well, first off, on the masks, think about this. He's announced he's going to mail everybody a mask. At the same time, Boris Johnson in England is saying we're doing away with all the masks and the mandates. And it just really looks bad. It used to be America leads, no more. I mean, clearly we've got other smaller countries leading where Joe Biden can't. On the Russia-Ukraine front, there's no going back now anymore. He's already been so weak from the moment that he took office that no matter how tough he talks, Vladimir Putin is not going to believe him. So I predicted yesterday on the radio show, I think I did it on the Newsmax show as well. You've got Germany saying, hey, you go into the Ukraine, we're gonna shut this pipeline down. Now think about this. Germany, Europe needs that natural gas coming from Russia. They're desperate for it. Russia needs the income from that gas. Their economy, 45% of it will rely on that energy going to Europe. But I don't think Europe has the stones to actually shut it down. We now know for sure Biden doesn't have the stones to shut it down, which leads me to believe there's no doubt in my mind that Vladimir Putin's going to go into the Ukraine and absolutely nothing will happen. And it all started when Joe Biden shut down oil production in the United States. We could have been providing Europe with liquefied natural gas. They need it desperately. We could have been sending them liquefied natural gas, and it wouldn't have had to rely on Russia, and we would have been in a much stronger position. But everything this administration does is from a position of weakness, and that's never good, especially when you're America.
One thing that I caught during that whole piece was Biden talking about sending $600 million worth of support over there, whether it was money, whether it was equipment or whatever. And then he kind of slipped up and said, yeah, but that might not even matter because Putin can just march right over there and take it over anyway.
This is what I mean. I mean, the mixed messages coming out of this administration is really putting us in harm's way. It's putting the people of Ukraine in harm's way, and it's putting Europe in harm's way. So Joe Biden, clearly, I think we learned anything yesterday. It said he doesn't know what the hell he's doing up there.
Now, this is the first war for quite some time where we might actually experience a sting in the tail if it all kicks off. I mean, at this moment in time, it seems like it's inevitable, but what's it really going to mean for us if Russia invades Ukraine and it's a large-scale invasion and they're intent on holding on to the land there? I mean, what does it actually mean for us?
Well, the only thing it means for us is we lose credibility with our allies. Look, the United States doesn't want to go to war with Russia. Russia's now very closely aligned with China. The last thing we need is a war with China. China doesn't want to go to war with us. We're both heavily reliant on each other. America far too reliant on China, by the way, for so many things. You talk about the mask he's sending out. I think on the boxes it says "Made in China." So I don't think it's going to really have any effect on us as American citizens when they go in, but it certainly is going to have an effect on America's credibility on the world stage, that we have an obligation to stick up for the Ukraine, and we're not going to do it. You watch, we're not. The Ukraine is going to they're going to run right over them, and we're not going to do anything about it. And Europe's not going to do anything about it. There won't be World War III, and the people that will suffer will be the Ukraine, and Russia will gain more power. And it all could have been prevented if Joe Biden would have led from a position of strength.
Now, obviously, he was still a little upset about, the whole voting bill thing not going through the Senate, or a vote not being allowed on it. Now, is this going to be dropped at this point? I mean, they say about ripping all these bills into shreds and trying to pass them in individual little pieces without all the fluff. But do you think this bill is ever going to go through?
I don't think it goes away. This is an election rigging scheme that they're trying to institute across America. The easiest way to do it was federalize the elections on behalf of the Democrats. I think you're going to see it play out in state houses, places where Democrats control the state house. They will pass legislation that will set in stone the mail-in ballot scheme, as I call it. But Chuck Schumer last night, without getting into the details, he went through so many Hoyle's rules of order, so many tricks and maneuvers to try to get this thing passed. They're not going to give up on this, because they know if they can push in a mass mail-in ballot scheme, that we as patriots, as hardworking Americans that value hard work and perseverance, the sad reality is in America, we're outnumbered. And so the reason we would win elections is because we were engaged and passionate enough to get to the polls. The reason they lose is they've got lazy folks who want to take handouts from the government, and they don't care about voting. But now, if you can send a kid playing video games in his mom's basement a ballot, and some Democrat operative can go to that house, fill it out for him, pick it up, and stick it in a Zuckerberg-funded box, we're never going to win an election again. So they're not going to give up on this. Not a chance.
It's kind of interesting you bring up we're outnumbered. Do you really believe that we're now getting to the point, as you point out, patriots, right? The number of patriots versus the number of non-patriots, let's say, that we're getting outnumbered. Is that where we're headed?
I'm sad to say it absolutely is true. We're in the minority. The people sticking up for our rights today are the ones who are brave. You got the wolf there. If you look at wolves, sadly, I think the Democrats are the ones that actually like wolves. I prefer to be a sheepdog to protect the flock from the wolves. And the issue is that we don't have a lot of sheepdogs in America. I'm not asking everyone to be a leader. It takes exceptional people to be leaders. We'd be lost if we didn't have soldiers. Think about it. An army wouldn't work if everybody was a leader. But what I want are passionate, engaged people that believe in America, believe in the values that this country was founded on. That is a dying breed. There are more people, far more people, that would rather be watching TMZ than Newsmax or Fox News. That's just the hard reality. There are far more people sitting on their couch playing Fortnite today than there are people sitting about how they're going to go make a speech to their local school board and fight for their kids' education. We're totally outnumbered. And so they know we're outnumbered, and they know if they can rig the system so the lazy folks will get a say in all of it, we'll never win again.
Yeah,
I think break the news to you, but it's a fact.
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've got a problem on the right in that we play too nice. We try to abide by the rules. And, each time those rules are broken by the other side, we keep giving free passes. There's almost nothing the left can do where we actually call them, to account in the same way they would to us. But, if there's one thing which might unite the country, it's Hillary running again. Now, she was obviously disliked by most of her own party last time out, and a lot of the center support shifted because she was so disliked. If she does run again, is it going to be impossible for Trump to resist running against her?
I think it's going to be impossible for Trump to resist running. I really think he's going to run again. All indications are. I had the opportunity to spend some time with him just a few minutes a few weeks ago, and just from the conversation I have with him, he sounds like a guy who's planning on running. He didn't tell me he is, but he sounds like a guy who's planning on running. So I think he'd love to run against Hillary. I think it would be great for us. But Here's Hillary's play. Hillary's play is she's going to come out as the anti-extreme left candidate for the Democrats. She's going to say the AOCs, everybody else, you're all nuts. Nobody else is going to be able to challenge Joe Biden if he decides on running again, if he makes it that far. You can't have Pete Buttigieg. He's in the administration. What's he going to do? Run against Joe Biden? Not going to happen. You can't have the Cory Bookers do it. They're not gonna go against their leader like that. But Hillary Clinton could. She could take a lane as a so-called moderate. Be very careful because she's not one, but she'll play that role. And Dick Morris, who comes on the Newsmax show all the time, actually thinks that Bill Clinton thought up this strategy for her because, as he said, Hillary's not smart enough to think of it. So she'll take this moderate lane and she'll try to split the party apart. And, who knows? Maybe she beats him in a primary.
Now, whoever wins, I mean, it's going to be basically a revenge full 4 years afterwards. Trump's going to start, getting back at some of these people who have persecuted him, and rightfully so, because it's been pretty shameful the way he's been treated, the way his kids have been treated. But also Hillary is going to be looking to do some damage. She's got vendetta against Trump, vendetta against Republicans. Is it going to be the worst case scenario if she wins?
If she wins? Oh, I'm not even thinking about it. There's no way we can allow it to happen. I mean, I don't see her winning an election in 2024. I really don't. She may be able to beat Joe Biden in a primary, but if President Trump or anybody runs against her, there's no way. She's the most disliked woman in America today. And in many respects, she's getting really old. I don't think she's as sharp-tacked that she once was either.
Beautiful segue from my question. It's almost like we planned this. Hillary's 74, Biden's in his 80s, Trump's in his 80s. Why can't we find anybody a little bit younger? I'm not saying put a 35-year-old in there based off the Constitution. You got to be 35. But what happened to trying to find somebody a little bit younger that, has some education, all that good stuff? Why do we keep just putting all these career politicians in these spots versus getting somebody in there a little bit younger with some open ideas?
We sadly have a uni-party system in America. Republicans and Democrats, at least party leadership, really aren't all that different. They want power. They're not working for us. They're working for them. So they put self-interest above national interest every day of the week. So it's ever whose turn is it to run. Now, on behalf of the Republicans, I will say it's a little different this time around because President Trump, who already held office for one term, would be the rightful guy to try to make a run at this if he wants to run again. And I will also say President Trump sure doesn't seem like he's a guy in his 80s. I mean, that guy has energy like you wouldn't believe. I mean, even if you look at him in the golf course, I get that he's not in that much shape, in the greatest shape in the world, but he doesn't move like an 80-year-old either. You know who does move like an 80-year-old? Joe Biden. And the difference between them is crazy to watch. But Republicans have a much deeper bench than Democrats do. And all you have to do is go down to Ron DeSantis. I think if President Trump decides he's not going to run, you'd see the governor of Florida running instead.
Now, before we go today, Grant, I just wanted to bring up the biggest cancer I think we've got in society at the moment, and that's the cancel culture and the woke society, because it's creating division where division didn't exist 5 years ago. This came out of the blue, blindsided everybody. But one article I did read a couple of days ago was the new Harry Potter series of movies. They want to make Harry Potter's mom, they're going to have her played by a transgender lady. Now, I'm not sure which direction the lady is going, so I can't really comment on that. But it's going to be one heck of a magic trick. Them explaining how Harry came out of his dad's vagina. I'm just not sure where everything's going at this point now.
Yeah, so this is what I mean when it's going to take everyday Americans to stand up and say, you know what, enough is enough. And that's going to be parents saying, you know what, I'm not buying my kid this Harry Potter book, or we're not going to watch this Harry Potter movie. And until people start doing that, nothing's going to change. On the program last night, I had a guy on. His name's Gabe El Taib. Gabe El Taib. He was a DC comic book artist, very, very successful. Once he saw Superman and Batman's sidekick Robin be turned into bisexuals. I don't know if you've seen this. They took away the phrase truth, justice, and the American way and turned truth, justice altogether or something like that. He quit. He said, I'm leaving. So just last night he announced they've got a new comic book coming out called Truth, Justice, and the American Way. They took the phrase from DC Comics. That's the name of the characters. And the characters are going to be an old-fashioned superhero characters that represent American values. The American Way character is a man of steel. And guess what? He comes from a Pennsylvania steel town. And this is the kind of thing we need to start doing. Have people like that start making their own way, our own movies, our own comic books, our own books, and hopefully people wake up and start buying those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hey, Grant, we certainly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to join us. Can you let everybody know how to find out more about you, your website, social media, all that good stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Social media, Stinchfield 1776, just about on every platform. Stinchfield 1776. Newsmax, 8 p.m. Eastern time. You can watch it on almost any cable satellite provider. And then we stream for free everywhere, whether it's just the website or any of the smart TVs. You can stream Newsmax on for nothing. Very different from the other cable outlets. And then I do radio in Los Angeles, AM 870 from 6 to 9 Los Angeles time. The app is out there for that show too. So a lot of places to get me. I really appreciate you guys inviting me on, and I appreciate what you guys are doing to bring the fight to the left.
Hey, appreciate that. Thank you so much, Grant. We'll be in touch, and have a good one.